Camera's on, and off you go.
Good morning, I'm Harry, this is Mark, this is Callum. For our presentation,
That's right, so for our presentation, we're going to be doing a short film called Why. You know the next slide, please, Carl? The idea focuses upon a teenage girl named Riley, and the start of the story follows her going into a comic book shop, as a local one, and acquiring a prop from one of her favourite comic books, and then realising once she gets home that it's actually real. This prop will be able to take back in time. For example, stuff like Hermione Granger's Time Turner, and I found one comic book called Time Shifters. Has a big bracelet that sort of allows him to go back in time. Something like that on the way. We'll have to obviously find out in the story. What happens is that she has the ability to pause time and then play it back again at her will. So what we are going to have her do is go through a series of tasks day to day, trying to get herself out of trouble and sort of making sure that she doesn't get anything bad happen to her. And then towards the end of the story, we're going to have her learn that these powers and these abilities aren't everything, and that they can't save her from the world. She has to actually face issues herself.
We looked into our target audience. The target audience is C1 to D1. The average age group is 25 to 27. Our gender that we have, I don't think it's important, but because our story is we're using unisex names for our characters, we don't feel like it's necessary to have a certain gender. So it's supposed to be there. We've also researched into LGBT representation in film. It's quite a sensitive subject, so we thought we'd research into where the line is between this topic. We looked at films and books, other short films as well that to do with LGBT. One short film was a alternate dimension in which gay couples are normal and heterosexuality is considered frowned upon.
Some of the potential issues that we could face, what we've done is look at how the production is going to roll and sort of try to figure out what could go wrong and how we can prevent that from happening in the future. Obviously here we've got a list of stuff that we could possibly do, stuff that like sort of showing actually having the physical effect of freezing time in front of us. So we're having a moving car, we can't obviously just pause a clip because the car will be blurred, so we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that. Some ideas we have using quite heavy visual effects work or literally just pausing the video. Another thing that we're going to struggle with quite well is looking back at some of our other projects. Time management has been quite an issue for us, so we're going to make sure that we really hone down on that by doing the looking back at what we've done, doing production meetings, sort of finding out where we are. We can sort of pace ourselves at our own speeds, giving us a lot more freedom when we do that.
Okay, for our target audience, we sent out various surveys, each of us sending out different ones, but we have found some common themes between them. We each have an average age of 26, and even though we have a wide range of ages, that is the median age. Both of them are male or female, and there's not a big gap between them. They're both quite similar, which helps with our gender thing. It means we don't have a bigger male nor female audience, so we can sort of mix out in between. They live in the UK, so we can base our story in the UK and be more relatable to the audience. They mostly watch films on YouTube or online. Some watch it in the cinema. Obviously, we don't have that availability. We can't release it there. And they like a range of genres. So, okay, so for my techniques, I decided to do auto replication. So I'm doing Wes Anderson, David Fincher, and Edgar Wright. So I'm going to work on framing and cuts, as well as split screening, which also comes into framing, so you've got to make sure everything's correct. I'm also going to look into blocking action. So that'll be one on set, making sure everyone's actions are rehearsed, so it all runs smoothly when we're filming. One thing that's not on there, I will also look into, is representation of the gender. So I'll be looking into making females less attractive in film, and more of a comedic spin on it rather than having them sexualised. So rather than getting out of the shower, it being all sexual, it being more comedic, like slipping out something, tripping over, subverting the audience's expectations.
As the screenwriter, some of the proposed techniques I have, for example, intercuts is something I want to make sure I can do. I tried to do this before in the last project that we've done, but I feel like I didn't do it quite well, so what I want to have is sort of within the script, is two people learning particular developments within the story at the same time, so we could almost cut between the two, also involving what Harry wants to do for his cuts. We're writing for a particular gender. One main goal I want to have for the script is making it so that if, say for example, in production, we wanted to swap the gender of a particular character, it wouldn't actually matter too much. So all we would have to do is change sort of how people refer to a particular character. This is sort of a bit more like a stand up against sort of gender roles within films, sort of saying you don't have to have a particular gender attached to the role. You can have sort of anything will be there. And another major thing that I want to do is beat the Bechdel test as a sort of a group that are making a short film about sort of having a strong female lead, having a lead be part of the LGBT community. I want to make sure that we represent her and the people around her perfectly. And by doing that, I think I can sort of beat the Bechdel test and sort of show, look, we are really going towards doing that.
My proposed techniques are masking, so a lot of the time travel aspect of the story we'll have is a scene where this main character is going on a date. In order to freeze time so she can contemplate what the situation is, she can have a wide shot of them two standing in between, and she can have one side of her video clip continuing to play, but her side is frozen. We can stop that and we can do the masking in between and feather it as well. Cutting to music was something I was interested in. Chris Dickens, who was an editor for Edgar Wright for many of the movies, it's something I've actually done in my past projects as well. It's much more enjoyable for me to make personally as an editor, and plus you get a better response. It's more satisfying to watch, because the theme's time as well, which also come up in a minute about the soundtrack. Different cuts, match cuts, jump cuts, smash cuts. Just wanted a different variety. So the soundtrack, we intend to use indie songs. We have a whole range of music that we want to use. We haven't currently emailed the artists yet. We just have a list in the hopes, if we do get one, we can use it. If not, we'll keep on looking at them. We've decided to look at 60 BPM songs because our theme is time, and time as a concept. We want to have songs that go to the clock, which is just a little Easter egg in our short film we want to have. That's something I came up with. It's a video I'll flip on in a moment.
Just close down.
You've seen this song before, but you don't make a sound. What is there to gain? Although I can flush you out, I know you have your doubts. You turn this inside out. I'll be your parachute when you're falling through, when all hope serve you.
So that was the intended idea for our story. Most of the songs, some of them are a bit slower, some of them don't quite go over the clock. We wanted to have shots in the short film where the main character can be walking past and it's zooming under the clock because it's the main thing. We wanted to click and zoom into the tune. It was quite satisfying to watch.
Okay, so we want to release our video via YouTube and other social medias. This is so we can get our target audience and want to focus on that. It'll be the easiest way to release it, as we don't have access to short film festivals at the moment, or DVDs, cinemas, etc. We can also share it via social media, so it's spread quicker. And this way we can target who we choose to release it, and using them we can make it spread to a larger audience. We can submit to film festivals, but this will be quite difficult to do as we don't have any footing. If it does get submitted though, we will have a larger audience for it to be seen by.
So we decided to look into sort of other short films within YouTube that have done the same kind of idea and followed the theme of time quite well. This is sort of the purpose of this was to see how other people have worked with sort of time travel or stopping time and stuff, and seeing where they have failed and where we can improve on what they've done. For example, the 1 Minute Time Machine, which is one that I looked at, is a short comedy where a guy tries to hit on a girl using this big box that essentially takes him back by 1 minute. So he has the conversation with her, and if he messes up, he can go back in time and come back again. And then towards the end of the short film, you find out the twist that she's actually into time travel, and how every time you press the button, you make an alternate, like parallel universe where your person dies. So it sort of has a really comedic sort of effect going through all the other ones and seeing him just sort of there and the lady freaking out about it. We decided to look at this one, make a big point about this one because it's looking at sort of time travel and parallel universes, which is stuff that could be something quite large in it. There are a few ideas that I've had for the script of having something like that where it could mess with the sort of the space and time and everything, and that sort of helps me out get a better understanding of how it actually works.
Time in a little bit. It's a story about a young student living in Australia. He's hanging out with this group of other students who are sort of making fun of him for him being really creative. He's contemplating time travel and time again as a concept. And he's questioning himself, he's questioning his friends, and they're sort of mocking him, making fun of him. Later on in the short film, you'll see he grabs a stone as a memory because he likes to explore, he likes to discover things, and so he kept this stone. And later on, at the very end of the short film, there's a crash between his mother and him in a car, and they fall into a river. The only thing that saves them is the stone in his pocket, which everyone was laughing at him for. But he saved a life, and I think the whole moral of the story is doesn't necessarily have to be about time travel, but one small insignificant thing can mean a lot and can even save a life, which I thought was very interesting.
And Time Trap is about a robot who gets lost in space rather than time. His one goal is just to get home, so he can create portals different times where he just grabs things he needs to try and help him get back home. It's quite a common story. He keeps grabbing things from different universes, people like, oh, what's going on? In the end, he just wants to get home.
Thank you for watching. Do you have any questions?
How long are you expecting your short film to be?
The short film will be about 15 minutes.
About 15 minutes.
Yes. Because I think that they're a lot, something that have a lot in there, have a sort of quite a strong development. So it's not all going to be focused on her with the abilities and sort of what she's going to be doing. It's going to be sort of a key part of it, but we're also going to show how the abilities are more of an escape for Riley, and sort of she's had this sort of horrible life where nobody is accepting her for who she is, and going to school and being sort of discriminated against, and she can use these abilities to sort of get away from it and have this world that she decides to go to.
The way I see it as well, I see it as a chapter short film also. So the first chapter can be her being seen as a normal student, just like any other person going to school, coming home from school, having dinner with her parents. The second can be discovering this catalyst in the story that gives her this supernatural power. And at the end, she's exploiting these powers. She's a photographer as well, which we didn't know before. She can freeze time so she can get the perfect picture. And we had concept titles, clickers, which was the catalyst, just you can use ability to freeze time with your hands, or simply called the perfect moment, which is based on photographer.
Okay. Okay, no, that's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.